Hi everyone. I'm a little weirded out by something and I could use a little bit of advice. My grandpa has been dead for about 10 years, but before he died, he made a Facebook account. I never unfriended him because I felt like I still had a connection with him as long as I could go back and read our old conversations. Well, a few weeks ago, I noticed my friend's count had gone down by 2. I never had many Facebook friends, so I knew it had to be 2 of my close friends or relatives who unfriended me. Eventually, I realized that it had been my grandma and grandpa. I thought maybe Facebook had closed my grandpa's account because he had been dead for so long, but that didn't explain my grandma. Also, I could still find both of them by searching for their names. I don't know why, but I tried adding both of them again. Almost immediately, the option to add grandpa returned, so I knew that my request was ignored. The request to add grandma remained pending for a few hours, but eventually that was ignored as well. All of this is besides the point, and more detailed than you probably would care about. But I need to tell someone because it's all still really strange to me, and I wanted to tell the whole story. My grandmother is still alive. I don't visit her as often as I should, maybe a few times a year. She is not very tech savvy, but she's on Facebook once or twice a month. And after a few hours of painstakingly guiding her through online banking, she's even managed to start paying her bills online. But other than that, Facebook is about the most complicated computer thing she can handle. I asked my mother, and she checked her own account. She had been unfriended as well. She about had a small meltdown when she called grandma and she didn't pick up. I lived pretty close to my mother, so she came and picked me up, and we drove to my grandmother's house. It's only really an hour away, so there's really no excuse for visiting her as seldom as we do. Grandma was home, and she was happy to see us. When my mother demanded to know why she hadn't picked up her phone, she said that she had been in Grandpa's grave. She didn't seem to think that Mother had any reason to be upset, but she invited us in and asked if we wanted to stay for dinner or for coffee. And we decided to remain for a few hours. As I said, we really should have visited her more often. And every time we visit, it's clear my grandma likes having us. We feel guilty about it when we're there for once, but life moves quickly and there's always something else we need to do. My grandma has an old piano. I'm not very musically inclined, but it's very nostalgic for me to hear my mother and grandma play on the piano. Which they did, as they always do when we visit. It felt good. It felt normal. So I told myself that she probably just had an old person moment and logged into my grandpa's account for some reason. But I was still curious, so I did ask her during dinner. She looked embarrassed, but she said that she just didn't feel like using Facebook anymore, so she had tried to close her account. We said the accounts were still open though, but she just waved it away. We finished dinner and I helped her with a few things around the house. She was just happy to have us there, and again, everything felt normal. Eventually, we went home. A few weeks passed. I and my mom both called grandma once or twice and everything still seemed normal. But late one night, last week, I decided to look my grandparents up on Facebook again. The profile pictures had changed. Grandma used to change hers every now and then and the new ones didn't look unusual. But grandma said she stopped using Facebook. And there was really no reason for my grandpa's account to have a new picture. I brought it up with Mother the next day and she had the same feeling as I did. Something was off. We went to visit my grandma again yesterday and she was glad to see us like always. In fact, she seemed happier than she had been in a long time. We asked her about Facebook again and she said that she hadn't been on it. When we mentioned the profile pictures changing, she said that maybe she had been on it once or twice. But she didn't want to talk about it, so we let it drop. We helped her out with a few chores around the house again, but this time, my curiosity was stronger. So I made an excuse to go into her bedroom while she was in the kitchen with my mother, and I turned on her computer. I know all of her passwords because she never changes them, and she has all of them written down on a little note next to her laptop. It was a cheap piece of crap the day we bought it for her nearly half a decade ago, but she only uses it for very basic things like writing about her childhood. She lives out in the middle of nowhere and she grew up in a retirement home in the 1930s, so she knows more about the area and the people who used to live there than pretty much anyone. But she had a Tor browser. She's not stupid. My grandma, she's always been very, very bad at computering, like a lot of old people. So this surprised me. Even my parents don't even know what Tor browsers are used for, so my grandma definitely shouldn't. Hell, I don't even know that much. The only time I ever used one was when I was looking into the darknet back in the day, and that was a very brief and shallow visit. I clicked on Tor and I opened up a normal search engine. No bookmarks, no browsing history, nothing. Considering she was in the habit of writing all her account names and passwords down on post-it notes and leaving them by the computer, I figured she probably didn't use Tor, so I closed it. I opened up a regular browser and I went to Facebook. She was logged in, and she had unfriended everybody. Everybody except for Grandpa. And this is what really creeps me out. There were posts on both her and Grandpa's timelines going back to the day she had unfriended everybody. Some posts were from his account, and the rest from hers. They replied to each other. It looked like real conversations. Grandma would sometimes take minutes to reply, sometimes hours. But Grandpa's replies were almost instantaneous. There were older pictures of them back when they were younger, from back before digital cameras even. I suppose it's possible Grandma might have learned how to scan photos or paid someone to do it, but why would she fake conversations with her dead husband? I was starting to worry that something was seriously wrong with Grandma. I took a few photos of the screen with my phone, then I went back out into the kitchen. I joined the conversation for a little bit, and then I whispered to Mom and told her to go into the bedroom while I talked to Grandma. I kept her busy for around 20 minutes until my mom came back. She looked a little pale, so she must have found the whole thing as creepy as I did. But now what? We didn't know what to do. I sneaked back to Grandma's bedroom with the intention to turn off her laptop before she noticed that we had turned it all on. But then I saw there was a new message waiting for her. From my grandpa. I opened the chat window and it read, "If Angie and Charlie already left." My mother's name is Angela, so Angie isn't that strange of a nickname, but nobody calls me Charlie except for my grandparents. Charles is my middle name and most people don't even know that I have one. So, I was a little bit disturbed that someone was calling me that when talking to my grandmother using her dead husband's account. I took a photo of that as well, and then I closed the browser and I turned her laptop off. My mother and I said our goodbyes and left. Everything about my grandma's behavior seemed normal, and she was sad to see us go as always. But I know for a fact that it couldn't be her who had written that message, since she had been in the kitchen that whole time. This happened yesterday and I have no idea what's going on. It feels wrong, I know something is clearly off, but I have no idea what it could be. How do I even look into this more? Do we just confront Grandma about this? I really have no idea who to turn to. So if anyone here has any ideas, please. I'm completely in the dark.